We have to cooperate. If you can give others what they want, you will usually always get what you want. That's from Zig Ziglar. And I have found this out to be very true. This is not manipulation because it could sound that way. When you can figure out what somebody needs, an employee, a coworker, a manager, and provide that for them, you will usually get what you want as well. Let's flesh this out. As we flesh it out, we're also looking at what the whole five keys of success is. It's a paradigm shift. A paradigm is a distinct concept or thought pattern. It's a different way of thinking than what's always been done. You know, there's the iceberg. As the Titanic was going by, and Captain Smith said, "Oh, it's not that bad." I mean, this was what was underneath them. The Titanic hit it at an angle, and so all of the 5 to 7 spaces got nailed in the safety spaces, and the ship sunk. What we think and what we really do, my friends, we got to rethink the way it's been done. Proactive. That's a paradigm shift. Well, we know it is because only 2% of the world's doing it. So, we're trying to begin with the end in mind. What we're going to do in cooperation is we're going to seek to understand in our communication versus just nailing somebody. We're going to try to figure out how to create a win-win solution. We're going to focus on the interests of other people. We're going to follow through. All right? We're going to do some great stuff in time management. We're going to follow up. All of this is a paradigm shift for what usually has been done. And this is Dr. Stephen Covey. If you want to make a quantum breakthrough in your life, work on the way you think. Okay? Work on that paradigm. Now, cooperation. Wouldn't it be great if you were the only person who had to work and you didn't have to deal with anybody else sometimes? That is lovely. It points. But the reason there's other people is because you can't do it all. One person cannot do everything to meet the needs of the customer. So we have to cooperate. You got to build a team. All right? You've got this great new job. They have not been successful in the past in our case study here. So, how do we build a strong team? New way of thinking. Win-win. Now, this is an attitude to try to always find solutions that will truly benefit people on your team. Okay? The point is, or the problem, is that these solutions do not exist in themselves. They don't show themselves very easily. They have to be created. They have to be synergistic. Synergy is when the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That means all of us in the classroom could be working on a project, parts of a project, and then when we have them. But if we all worked together, if we were working independently, if we all work together on that project, better results come in versus if one person is just working at their desk and we said, okay, time's up, let's put all these pieces together. Probably not going to fit well unless we were all working together for the same goal. So, in our cooperation, win-win. Win-win's not based on compromise. Yeah, I know. Compromise is something we do every day. Hey, you want some of this? I want this. Where can we meet in the middle? It's a quick way just to get through life. Okay? But it really doesn't perceive the possibility of the synergy of the situation. What we're doing is negotiating. The best negotiators will always figure out the interests of the other side. Again, if you can give people what they want, you usually get what you want. There's a great book called Getting to Yes by William Fry. Google that up, Getting to Yes. And this was the Harvard negotiation project that tells you the great steps, which I'm using, to get the piece of the pie bigger. Because these negotiators examine the pie and they try to expand it for order to all, so everyone can win, versus saying, you know what, I need this, and once I get it, I'm out. What do we all need? How can we make this a little bit bigger so everybody gets what they need? So let's take a little example right here. All right, you're working, you've got this great job we've talked about. Now, one member of your team, she's come up to you and said, you know what, I've got a 6-year-old daughter and I'm I can't take this anymore. I need to pick her up from school. I don't want her to ride the bus. I'm afraid she's getting bullied at school. I mean, I hear all these things, and I want to be able to be there, and I don't know what to do. And so I may just have to quit. And now this person is amazing. She is your creative staff right in here, as we see. She does all the photography, the social media for your department. She's flexible in her workspace. So she's good. You need her. She can't just walk off. Man. Okay, so what do we do? What do we do? All right, let's compromise. Tell you what, you say, Sally, I'm going to let you work through lunch, and you can leave at 4 o'clock versus 5 o'clock. Okay, who wins? Exactly. Nobody wins. 4 o'clock doesn't do her any good. By the time she has to drive from the office, it's too late, you know. She needs to get off much earlier than that to get to her daughter. And you do not want to lose this employee. Hey, once you find and train an employee in the professional world, it is very difficult to find a new one to replace skill set. So you say, well, let's not compromise. Let's think win-win. Your interests are to get the best results from the employee who is your creative presence for your department. Okay? That's my interest. Is my interest really to see her at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day? No. It's to get the greatest results from her. So you pick up a plan. You think it up here. So I tell you what, can you come at 7:30? That just helps me a little bit to know that you are here when other employees come in, so they see that you've been working. And I let you leave at 2:30. You go pick up your daughter. Now, since you can do so much on your computer, and since you can do your projects of design, could you work at home and finish the rest of them up? What would Sally probably say? Absolutely, I will. I never thought you could do this for me. So she agrees. She picks up her daughter. She gets home early. She takes her daughter to the park, and afterwards, when her daughter's maybe doing her homework or after dinner, she is working more for you. And I can tell you exactly, she's going to be so motivated that she's going to work harder. And you've got an excellent employee you've retained who's probably working 10 to 12 hours a day. Now, the reason I came up with that little scenario is because that was me when my daughter was born. I worked in another campus in student services, and my employer, my boss, said, hey, I tell you what, I know you need to be home because you are working a different schedule, and she let me do that for about 2 to 3 years, and that's exactly the amount of time I needed. So it can work, my friends. It really can. The win-win, the more you practice win-win thinking, that is way outside the box, the more committed your team will become to complete your project. My loyalty to that boss that I had was, beyond measure. Anything she asked me to do, I did it because she had really come through for me when I needed to. So, this is a negotiation. The definition of negotiation is an interaction of influences. And aren't we trying to influence behavior? Exactly, we are. We're trying to get the best out of our employees. Now, let's go back and say, well, how do I create a win-win solution? Well, we have to separate people from the problem. Same in negotiation. Okay? I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at what can get done here, what we need to have. So I focus on interests, not positions, and I create options for mutual gain. When we're separating people from the problem, when you go into a negotiation or into a area with your team, what are we trying to do? Certainly if there's some problems going on, how do we view those participants? Are we trying to make best friends and just like me forever and I'll be so happy? Are we trying to have an adversarial relationship? Like, hey, I don't care, I'm going to get it. We must remove emotion. You'll get so much better results. When we're soft on people but hard on problems, we should view the participants as problem solvers. That's a great way to start. Focus on the problems. Well, we're going to go back to our case. Remember, we had a declining market. We had lost $600,000 to $800,000 worth of sales over 2 years. So the declining market, we needed to discover new customers. We need to become a viable department for our organization again. We got to increase sales growth, work as a team, improve morale. Okay, so those are the problems that you can put out there on that whiteboard, and we can discuss. And what can we all do as a team to get this going? Focused on interests, not positions. You know, positions are something that we have great emotional attachment towards. We tend to lock ourselves in on positions. We will defend our position at all costs if it gets out of hand. We get tied up in that position. It's only my way. I'm not giving in. I am not going to pay a dime over this amount. We have very strict standards, no flexibility, and I have to have the last word. Now, this beautiful car right here was something that I need to tell you about. I was probably in 7th grade, and my father said, "Son, we're going to buy a car today." "Oh, great, Dad. Hey, I'm going to come with you." Maybe you should come and see how an old man really negotiates a deal. Now, first, you're going to shut up, all right? You're not going to say a word, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to show you what to do. So we drive into a car lot. Now, my father was a director at Lington Covat, LTV, so he had a very good income. He had, again, 100 people reporting to him all over the world. So he was an executive. He didn't think that, you know what, I need a car I can take people out to lunch with. I want to look good in it, and, this is going to be my work car. Nope, he was always, because he was raised in the Great Depression, I'm not going to pay more than this. So, in today's terms, he basically said, I'm not going to pay over $11,000 for a car. Now, it was a different number back in the 1980s, but just to give you relevance today. So, the salesperson comes up, looks at him, and goes, "Hello there, sir." He goes, "Look." My dad just interrupts him and says, "I'm not going to pay over $11,000 for a car. What do you got?" In today's terms. Did he focus on his interest or his position? That was his position. And at the time, he wanted a late model car as well. There wasn't a whole lot of different things to have. And so the salesperson showed him a Cadillac, because my dad could easily afforded that and drove it. I told you, I'm not wanting a Cadillac. I ain't spending no money over 11,000. So this is what he drove home. It was really a green Cordoba with mag wheels on it. It was exactly the price he wanted. We drove it home. He gets out of the car, slams the door, looks at it, and says, "I hate this car," and walked in. Hated the car, but he kept it for 2 years. That was what can happen when you don't focus on your interest. You just stick brutally to your position. We've got to cooperate, my friends. Don't focus on positions. Focus on interests, not those positions. Your interest is this. You got to have your department perform better. Sales need to increase. We need new customers. Team members, wait a second. That's your interest right up here. Do your team members, do employees have interests? Sure we do. Well, we like to work in a healthy atmosphere, okay? Especially in today's times, March 2020, with the coronavirus, all right? We don't want to be put in harm's way. We would like a career path. Yeah, we don't just want to work here and that's our only potential. And we want to balance our work and family, especially for a younger group of millennials and Zsters. I just don't want it all to be about work. So those are things. How can we mesh these two together? We focus on interest, my friends. You make the effort to understand the other party's interest, and I can hope and give you a great probability that in this process you will receive your interests as a manager, as a leader, as a person. Oh, an orange. All right. We separate people from the problem. Okay. We focus on positions. I'm sorry. Boy, I screwed that up. Focus on interests and not positions. Now we got to do this. We're not done. We've got to invent multiple options for mutual gain. This is where we brainstorm. This is our creativity. Look, we look at all those problems or things we want to see happen. We see our interests and our needs, and we brainstorm those list of solutions. We want to increase the piece of the pie. All right, we want to increase the pie much larger than it is, so everyone can get what they need. Look at this nice, beautiful orange right here. This is another case study here. Thelma and Louise. We'll take those two names. They're elderly women. They share an apartment or a home. It's in February. It's a cold, rainy Sunday afternoon. And about 3 o'clock, they both come to the fruit bowl and they kind of reach for the orange at the same time. And Thelma says, oh, I kind of wanted that orange. And Louise said, yeah, I want it too. What to do, what to do, what to do, says Winnie the Pooh. Well, we got it. Take a knife out there. Split it right down the middle. Absolutely. Thelma goes into the den. She has a TV program she's watching. She peels the orange, throws the peel away, and eats it. Louise takes her half of the orange. She walks into the kitchen. She peels the orange, throws away the fruit of the orange, keeps the peel because she's making an orange zest cake. Ooh, what happened? Nobody asked what they needed the orange for. Thelma could have had the entire orange to eat, and Louise could have had the entire orange peel to really make that orange zest cake that she wanted. Sometimes we have to step away and really see what are the interests that everybody needs. As you build your team, you've got to create that perceived importance, my friends, for them. They're going to smoke us out. I'm sure you've had a manager or a boss that you believe all your work that you've done was to build his or her resume. And I think as employees, we can figure that out pretty quickly. So make sure you're not just building your resume upon their work. People will be committed if they believe that the project, that what they are doing is important. So think in these terms. How does the work benefit your employees? How does the work affect the company? How does the work affect the stakeholders? And develop the work to be bigger than just a job. There's two things. Do you want people to buy in to your project? That's a good start. What we really want in the end is our employees to own the project. When they take ownership, they're fully committed to getting that work done. So how do we build team interaction? Well, let's increase personal satisfaction for each team member, okay? Maybe there's new training that they can receive, professional development, certificates, awards. What about this one? Limiting competition. Now, I know we are an extraordinarily competitive society in the United States. I mean, we love to compete, we love sports, we love doing anything with competition. But in its pure definition, cooperation and competition are direct opposites. They really are. Now, there's a great real case years ago of an Ohio assembly line. This was a company that it was a subcontractor for the big three automakers. They were in Ohio. It's probably the 1980s. There's 100 people working in the plant. There's 50 on the day shift and 50 on the night shift. Let's just get those numbers. Now, the big boss comes in and says, look, I want to do a nice little bit of friendly competition. So, whatever shift at the end of the month increases their productivity. Okay, let's say at least increases it by 20%. But the winner, well, not both, the winner will get a gift certificate to the best steakhouse in this city. And I think it was like a Trulux. And so basically today, if it were a Trulux, you would get a $200 gift card. Each person would for their family. Seat 4. I mean, this was big steak right here. Oh boy, the juices were going. So the first week, they're dead even. They're dead even on productivity. So the second week happens. The day shift says, you know what we can do? Let's unplug all of the equipment. So when the night shift comes on, they'll take 30 minutes to plug it back in. So they did that. Night shift found out they weren't really happy. So what did they do in response? Exactly. Not only did they unplug all the equipment, then they recalibrated it. They messed it up a little bit. And this went on back and forth to actually, equipment was being sabotaged, it was being broken. The entire organization lost 45% of their productivity in that month. Well, they asked some college professor to get up there and say, hey, you know what, you tell us what we're doing wrong. He was more the psychology route, the professor was. And I said, well, why don't you just do this? Why don't you say, if we can all increase our productivity. Let's say, what's the number you need? And they say, well, we need at least 30% productivity. It would be amazing. That would get our profits sky high. Well, then everybody gets the gift certificate. That's exactly what they did. They fixed the equipment. The next month was, if we can hit 30%, we're going to be fantastic. The next month, they hit 35%. What happened? They cooperated versus competition. So keep that in mind. Yes, I know we always love friendly competition, but is it really friendly? Can it get ugly pretty quickly? Get people to cooperate and work together for a common goal. Great stuff can happen. Our final thoughts, again, my friends, this is not sequential. We're always cooperating. Build those relationships with your team members. That's maybe some of the most important work you do as a leader is building the relationships with inside and outside the organization. There's sponsors, there's departments, there's stakeholders. And here's a little tidbit for your career. Just remember, your next boss may be working with you or for you at this moment. Now, for those of us who have been in the workforce, for quite a while, I'm sure you've seen this. Someone you've worked with got a promotion, and all of a sudden, the next day, they are your boss. Or you may have someone that's worked for you. They got promoted. Maybe they went outside the company to a different company, and then they came back, and now they're your director. Is it smart to burn any bridges? More than likely, it's not. So, cooperation really helps you in this area. We're going to look at follow through as our next unit lesson, or our next part in the 5 keys of success. This is where everything has to come together. You guys, make it a great day.